And hello everyone and welcome back to week 81 of our Minecraft Let's Play series. How are you all doing? I hope you're all doing very well this fine week. And I think that we shouldn't wait any longer and just get straight into what we're going to be doing. So without further ado, here's our list. Obviously, as always, you know it, probably don't love it in all honesty, but we still gotta do it. We got more masons to put in the villager hall this week, which is probably going to be the first thing that we do as per usual. However, then after that, we've got some things that we actually need to do with our piglin bartering system. We're not completely done with that. We need to fix our output, as well as a piston error that I found out about, as well as a redstone error I found out about. So we'll get to that. Then in tandem with the villager hall, we also have the villager hall nether room. I want to see if we can go ahead and get to building that this week. Possible agility statue build, I'm not too sure this time around, so that's just here for filler, to be honest. Then we have base decoration. We've got some pond changes. The pond near our house with the water wheel is kind of where I'm talking about. We've also got a waterfall fix and maybe expanding the wall. I'm not sure we'll get to all of these, but these are just some options. And then a resin farm, which while I may go ahead and build a resin farm this week, I'm gonna go ahead and say this now, it is definitely not going to be staying the way that we will be building, because this one's going to be a very tiny one. Probably want to be building a bigger one in the future, but I just thought getting a resin farm at all would be nice to do. So obviously, without further ado, like I said, the first thing we're going to be doing is the masons, which hopefully you guys don't mind. I don't think it takes up too much time in the beginning of videos, but yeah, you guys are probably getting bored of it. But like I said, we need to do it anyway, just so that I can finally be done with it. So let's go ahead and move in some of those villagers. Of course, as per usual, by first heading through our nether portal into this area so that we can go ahead and walk over to where I have only 8 villagers this time because I counted correctly. Set up the rail as per usual and send them off and break the minecart so that you can go through this portal and end up at the other side of it at the villager hall. And as per usual, send the other 7 through the exact same until all of them are here in the villager hall, which we can now go ahead and send them on their way into their delegated places, leaving 4 of them behind as extras. And now that we have all 4 placed into here, we can trade with them their brick trades, their stone trades, their specialty stone trades, and now we go ahead and see if their other trades are worth it. This one has diorite and polished diorite with a glazed magenta terracotta, and these are all trades that we actually need, so this guy gets to say. And that's actually all we need for the glazed terracotta. We're just missing light blue and brown regular terracotta. This guy has lime and black with diorite and dripstone. Not really any traits that I'm looking for here, so goodbye, sir. This guy has gray and yellow with a diorite and granite trade. Not really trades I'm looking for, so bye, sir. And this guy has blue glazed and red regular. Also not trades I'm looking for, so goodbye, sir. Alright, let's move 3 new ones in. And this guy has brown terracotta with an andesite and a granite trade. We will keep them. And this guy has blue terracotta, which is close to what we need, but not exactly. We need light blue. However, he does have granite and diorite, which we are still missing, so like we did with the others, we will mark him, write down his trades, and leave him in hopes that we can get a villager with a light blue terracotta trade that has specifically polished diorite and dripstone. That's a tall order, but you know, it could happen. It's very unlikely. Now you may have noticed that we only went through 6 villagers and not the total 8, and that is because some of them did not make the cut even as soon as we got the like specialty rock trades. So yeah, that's where the other 2 went. But still have gotten more that we needed, which was brown and magenta glazed, wherever that is. There it is. So now this is what our list looks like. It can all fit on 1 page for this room finally. It used to be on 3 and now it's only on 1. So yeah, we've got light blue terracotta and then dripstone and polished diorite. However, we can swap out these guys like granite or polished diorite or andesite or diorite or granite in case we do end up getting a light blue terracotta and it fits within any of those three that it can be replaced with, I should say. So we're close. We are definitely close to getting this area finished, but that is going to be a problem for another week because I've run out of villagers. So now let's go ahead, head back, and get started on the next thing on our list here. Which actually, instead of heading back, I thought we'd just go ahead and head to where I needed to be, which is our piglin bartering farm. Because on our list, as you can see, we've got a few things that we need to fix because I found out some errors with this. One of these I've actually fixed on my own time, which was for some reason in this little area right here, items were being thrown out the back, so about here. So I went ahead and put an obsidian block right here. Hopefully that goes ahead and fixes that issue, but I also might put an obsidian block here, which thankfully our farm gives us obsidian. Just place it there, and hopefully that stops items from getting thrown back. And now the other thing that we need to do that's fixing this is I want to add some repeaters, because I don't know if anyone remembers, but this needs to activate slower than how we have it at the moment, because currently it runs before the gold actually gets deposited. So I just want to test out putting down some repeaters, and hopefully that works. So if we add repeaters all along here and turn them all to 4 ticks, my hope is that that gives us enough of a delay time so that the minecarts can at least make it back there. I'm not sure if they can, but we can definitely try. So that means we need to put 20 ingots into here, so both these get 10, and then we go ahead, flip the lever. Definitely did not work. Yikes. Alright, so this needs like a lot longer of a delay time. So what if instead of having 2 separate lines here, because we need these to both be delayed by the exact same amount, we'll go ahead and actually break these, and instead we put the redstone line down here, maybe. Yes, technically if we're doing it this way, we don't need this redstone because I'm gonna have to put redstone right here. Then what we'll do is we'll have 5 repeaters, redstone, all these set to a longer tick, and then here we have another strip of 5 repeaters, and I'll also add another repeater here, connect that up, and then I just need to connect it up to that redstone and that redstone, which I'll just do through, well, placing redstone lines, and it should be enough to make it all the way to where we need to go. But theoretically, it still should work if I flip the lever. Here, let's flick it again. I think it might need to be slower, maybe just by 1 repeater. So make that 4 ticks. If need be, we can also make this slower, but I prefer not to. So yeah, if I flip this now, those cards will go, and hopefully it makes it to the end before it turns on. I think it might just barely make it. So let's try with some gold, shall we? Go ahead and put 20 in here. Divides evenly into 10. Go. They all worked, actually. It does have a longer, like, time to turn off, but that's fine. As long as this functions, I don't really care if it takes longer to shut off. So that's 2 problems down, and now the other problem is actually going to be quite simple, because all we need to do is expand this as much as this amount of iron will allow us to. So we'll go ahead, craft a bunch of planks and chest and hoppers, but we do need to be a multiple of 3 because that's how many chests we've got here. We now have 13 new rows that we can make, so 13 ice blocks plus the chests that go with it. And now all the hoppers, we won't need to, but I'm gonna go ahead and put some buttons on here for safety. But I say we don't need to because we're just gonna go ahead and put some glass as well, because I don't want any items sliding off for any random reasons. And that's as simple of a fix as that's going to be. It's a lot of storage. I don't know if the items can make it all the way through though, so I'm gonna run this for a few seconds now that we have it completely automated, and we'll actually see if the storage can actually keep up. So yeah, just throw the rest of our gold in, let that go through, flip the lever, and I'll see you guys when it's done. I will say this is already a good sign because they're not really making it past that hopper yet, but when we start getting into when it drops like the big stacks of items, like the the iron ore nuggets, or it drops those unstackable items like the books, the boots, the potions, stuff like that. We might see it end up ending over there. But actually, it's already done, so we'll let this finish up. And now it's time to check how far it actually got. Alright, we've got one piece of blackstone this far in, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 8, sorry. And I think that's as far as it went. Seems to be the case. Alright, so 8 chests. Now, obviously, there's a lot of items in these ones because of my earlier testing. So, yeah, this is new, and then the one piece of blackstone. Alright, so yeah, having this many hoppers, I think will be enough. Now, one other thing that we could probably do with this, and this is going to be a now problem, this will probably be a later problem, is that we can go ahead and add a sorting system into this. So like have it so one of these hoppers is for iron nuggets, one of these is for blackstone, one of these is for nether brick, string, quartz, stuff like that, all the way until you get down to here, which you might just have a catch-all for the unstackable items like the books, boots, as well as the potions. And even then we might end up making something like a lava pit at the end of this, so that if the items do end up not fitting into here, they just burn so that we don't have clusters of items here. But this helps me a lot now, because when I was running this before, I would have to constantly be down here keeping up with the 5 chests that we had. So now, without having to worry about that, I can literally just AFK at our gold farm, or not AFK, but, you know, not really do much there. Then I can come here, throw the gold in, sit at our bartering farm here, and just let it run. I could probably even do something else in the meantime, but yeah, that's going to be a lot less time that I need to actually spend working on something, so that is quite nice. But yeah, with that all out of the way, let's go ahead and get on to the next thing I have planned. However, that plan has now changed, because originally what I was going to do was go ahead and work on the villager hall nether room, because I had a complete plan for this. I had it designed out, it looked actually kind of decent, and I was happy with it, but the issue with it lies in the materials. So much so that I ended up having to make another book and quill just for ingredients. I've been using our original book and quill for keeping track of the items I'd need to make whatever we were going to make that day, but this is kind of warranted needing to make another book. So what we have is 7 pages, and you can probably tell why I have decided against this. There are some items on here that wouldn't be that hard to get, but some of these I don't think we really have. Like, we need target blocks and a decent amount of hay bales. Alright, how many target blocks do I have? I have 3. I need 12. Hay bales, 17. I don't know if 8's going to be more than enough after we make the 9 target blocks, but you get the idea. But don't worry, even though that I decided to go away from the villager hall, that will probably be a next week thing. I'll try and go ahead and get all the materials for that between weeks, but I still want to go ahead and make another room. So what do you say we go ahead and work on making one for a farm? Specifically this portal to our spider farm. Yeah, we've been here, well, we were here more when we were doing all the Fletchers and stuff, so this place hasn't really been getting used too much. However, this is a very important build to me. It was honestly quite nice just making all this, and I wanted to go ahead and design a room for this, but it's going to be very simplistic and probably just based off the top layer right here. So as per usual, I'm going to go ahead and raise the portal up by 1, also making it a 3x3, and I'm immediately going to get started on the floor. And here is the floor. I explained before that it was going to be a 15x15 square, which, I mean, it kind of is. However, I have taken out the corners because, well, if I place walls here, you're not going to see them anyway, so I didn't bother. But now, with this simplistic floor out of the way, we need to go ahead and gas proof it, and the way I'm going to be doing that is through carpets. And I know it doesn't look that natural, but honestly, this is the best way I can think of to make it so gas won't spawn. So if you have a better idea, let me know, because I am willing to take suggestions, because I'm not too fond of this idea either. Then we'll go ahead and start working on these walls, which obviously is to try and mimic the design we have for these spider farm. And now the room just kind of looks something like this. I was thinking about possibly adding some of tinted glass and maybe even adding some cave spiders into like some alcoves here to kind of mimic the farm feel, but that'll probably be a different day issue because, well, trying to move cave spiders, that's going to be a pain. And we go ahead and add a roof onto this thing, add some lights to the doorways, and just like that, our room here is done. Now all we have to do is light up this portal and hope that it takes us to the spider farm still, which it actually does. That is quite nice. We can go back through here then and mark this as another completed room. Now obviously this is a lot less like detailed than the other rooms, and not all of these rooms have to be, you know, super fleshed out, because as long as I can tell that this is the spider farm, that's really all I'm worried about. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with this just being as simplistic as it is. Gas can't spawn here, which is a plus. I'm also only really worried about gas spawning here if it's like piglins or zombie piglins or skeletons or magma cubes. I don't mind them spawning in here. It's just gas, because if they grief the area, then I'm gonna be a little bit salty. But yeah, there is the room in there. We'll be able to connect these up to the tunnels whenever I get around to those. For now, we're gonna head back to our base and do a little bit of decorating around there. Probably a small project, but still a project nonetheless. So I'll meet you guys back there. And that project is, I want to see if I can go ahead and make this pond. I guess it would still be a pond because, well, it's not that big, but I'm not going to be changing this side. I want to go ahead and see how well I can do something over to this side first, and then we'll see if I like it. And if I do, then we'll probably do it to the other side as well in the future. Right now, I need to clear out this, and what I'm going to do first is a little build trick that I learned not too long ago, honestly. And that is, if we go ahead and place dirt along here, then we're going to go ahead and specifically place brown candles here, like so. Then we can break this dirt. It does not break the candles, thankfully. Then if we bone meal the ground and bone meal any grass that comes up beneath these, we can make plants that kind of look like cattails. Now, don't get me wrong, some of them kind of look strange, and obviously we can't pass through the candles, but I honestly really like this design. And I'm going to do a few more on the edge of the pond. And now we have a few cattail plants just around the water, but we're not done with putting plants around the edge here, not at all. We are going to go ahead and place some grass down, as well as placing some firefly bushes and some regular bushes too that were added recently. Add some moss carpets, and that ends the amount of foliage that I wanted to put around the water. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and place some lily pads on top of it, just here or there. And something that I kind of hope that the people over at Mojang actually decide to do is that with the new cactus flower, I think it would look great to be placed on top of these lily pads, or even just give lily pads a variant that can grow flowers. I think would be quite neat. But for now, we just gotta stick with the regular lily pads. And we're gonna go around a bit now and place down some seagrass just by bone mealing the ground. It's kind of like a simple way of just adding greenery, just like bone mealing the ground for grass, but it adds a lot of differentiation into the ground. Place a few small drip leaves here and there, mainly because I don't have too many of these. But these also can't be placed on anything but dirt, so I gotta be selective with where I place them. Now I'm actually going to go ahead and place just a piece of kelp, and for those who don't know, you can actually shear kelp and that can no longer grow more than 1 block tall. A little neat detail, but something I honestly kind of forgot was a feature in this game. And this is all fine and good, but we're going to add one more thing that's going to be very weird to probably a lot of you, and that's some amethyst clusters. Mainly because I just like the way that they glow, and it'll be a decent color change for, you know, what we have here. And just give this a little bit more variety. And just like that, we have decorated our pond a little bit. It went from being a very bare bones pond with a a few sea pickles placed here and there to, I'd say, a place where honestly, if we just put in some moving factors like some fish into here, I think it'd look pretty nice. Or we can even bring back some of our axolotls and place them in this pond as well. That might be an idea. Decisions, but I will make those later. I hope you guys do like the design of this though, and if you guys have any more ideas for this, I'd love to hear them. But for now, we got one more thing on our list, and that requires us to head over to, well, actually, we'll probably head over to our mob farm with the Prismreed farm, the Bad Omen farm, and the Butchered Copper farm. So I'll meet you guys over there. Alright, now that we are here, we gotta figure out where I actually want to build this farm, and I'm probably just gonna build it over at this island, to be honest, because I think it's far enough away from our Guardian farm that this will work. At least I hope so. It's also gonna be far enough away from that failure, again, hopefully. So these are the ingredients that we're gonna need for building this, and theoretically, this should be a very fast build, at least I'm hoping. There are some tweaks I'm gonna have to make to it, but I can probably take you guys through the steps of what I'm going to be doing to make this farm work. And currently that is starting by going about at least 30 blocks off the bottom of where we're starting. I'd also like to make a disclaimer while we're going to build this that I am not going to leave this farm as is. This is basically just a farm that I can make with the amount of creaking hearts that I currently have, which is only 2. Once I get a bunch of creaking hearts, but that's going to take some time, I plan on making a bigger farm than this, but yeah, for now, it's going to be very small. And it starts off by us making a platform like this, placing a chest where the hole is, followed by a hopper, glass around that hopper, and a tube formation with a button here to stop spawns. But actually I was wrong, we don't need to go up too high with the glass, we only need to go up 1 high because now we are going to be making a wall of pistons and then another piston behind that tower. So, and now what we're going to do is do the palo clog, creaking heart, palo clog, and we need to be building this during the day so that the creaking does not spawn. Then we do 3 glass blocks here, 1 here, take some buttons, place 1 on that block, 2 on the wood and on the creaking heart, and then 3 on these glass blocks. These will stop resin from spawning on them. Upper slab right here for a piece of redstone. And then we're going to place blocks here, here, and right here. This block right here does not need to be here because, well, a repeater will go here instead. How many times did I just say here? Which is going to be on 4 ticks. Then we're going to place a lever right here and a redstone torch under this block, which is going to start a timer, as you can see, and the off switch is thankfully this lever. Then off of this redstone torch, we're gonna have to do an upper slab. And by the way, this is the torch I had under the block. I just broke it because, well, it's easier. This doesn't go there. And then a piece of redstone on top of that top slab, and then a solid block with another piece of redstone right here to barely power those 2 pistons, even though I think they're already being powered. I'm not too sure how though. And now I need to sleep because, well, we don't want the creaking to spawn while I'm trying to build this. And then we place a glass block here and here, and then 4 glass blocks in a cross pattern, which is going to require another removable block to contain the creaking in this area. And then we're going to place another button right here. And actually, for other purposes, I'm going to remove this chest and also this hopper for the time being, because what I want to do is actually have the chest placed here, double chest, and a hopper into here like so, as well as 1 into here. Then we're going to repeat this pattern, basically mirroring it over on this side, just like this. I don't want to bore you guys with the details, I just mirrored it over to here. And then we go ahead and take these blocks and bring these out 8 both sides, put glass walls on them, which we're actually going to make these walls too high, as well as put slabs on them. And these are going to be like the areas that the creaking should spawn in, so that's why we're slabbing it up. Place down water buckets so that the creaking get flooded into where they're supposed to be going. Take our tridents and throw them down in the center of both of these. And now I need to spawn proof more by putting slabs there. And just so I can stand here a bit better, I'm going to go ahead and place down another slab and 2 more just so I can stand, and 3 more for a little bit of a platform. And let's put 2 more just in case. And now theoretically, I believe this farm is already done. I'm just gonna put the slabs on the proper side where the chest is. Maybe maybe even putting a slab over the chest. And I suppose now we wait until it turns night to see if this farm actually works, because knowing my luck, especially with the farm next to it, there's a good chance it might not. And now we wait. Alright, it's coming up on night here. Hopefully I don't get whacked by a creaking. Hello. You're not supposed to be able to stand there. I push you. Not supposed to be here. I cannot. Well, what happened there? Because you weren't supposed to spawn there. Bon voyage? Seem to have already run into an issue. If I hit this... Why are you up there? Alright, well both of these guys spawn. That's nice. I need to put a slab on that block is the issue currently. Ow. Did I just despawn them? That's a lot of mobs down here. I'm gonna try and despawn them. Alright, attempt number 2. I was gonna break. Or I guess attempt number 3. I'm gonna break these down here though. Theoretically, they should be able to spawn in above the distance like that. Now, only one has spawned, but we could at least test out this farm now. So I can go ahead and fall. I can go ahead, break this, flip the lever. Stupid question. Do tridents despawn? I mean, they're entities, I get that, but yeah, there's just a lot that went wrong with this farm. Have things changed? Because the design seems fine. Oh, great. I even got both into there, but there's no tries to actually attack them. I keep falling. Yeah, no, my tridents are just straight up gone. Cool. Alright, well, if that's the case, I'm starting to think this place is cursed. Because apparently, no matter what I build here, cough cough the copper farm, doesn't work. I'm just confused as to why they suggested tridents then, if it's going to just despawn, you know? And before anyone calls me an idiot, I barely use tridents, so I wasn't too sure how this was going to work, but it didn't. I'll worry about this at another point. Like, I'll worry about tearing it down at another point. For now, I'm out of time for this week, so I think I'm gonna just admit defeat, we'll go back to our base, and we'll wrap up this episode. But yeah, I'm sorry about that. Usually, again, I said I'd like to test out farms before I run them on recording, but yeah, apparently I have not learned my lesson. At least this farm was a lot smaller though and didn't require as many resources as the copper farm. But yeah, it still kind of sucks. But now we know, and my hope is that I do know of another creaking farm. However, that one I think takes up to 80 creaking hearts. So yeah, that was the reason I held off on that. But that might be where we need to go next time. But that is a future Skype problem because like I said, we are out of time for today. So even with that issue, we still got a lot of things done. Of course, we are very close to getting all the masons put in. We have one more piece of terracotta I think that we need to find. We also went ahead and fixed our piglin bartering system, getting it to a point where I'm quite happy with it and it is now for the most part automatic. Then we backtracked on the villager hall nether room because of the gigantic list of items that I'm going to need to grab for that as well, and instead made our nether portal room for our spider farm, which thankfully was a lot more simplistic than the other one. Then we went ahead, tested out some new foliage decoration around our pond, which I think is going to stick around, and I'll need to do that to the other side probably next week if you want me to be honest. And then finally, of course, we failed at the resin farm, or I say we, I'm not dragging you down with me. I failed at the resin farm, but we learned from those mistakes and we keep going. But yeah, that's going to be it for this week. I thank you all for watching. You all take care. Have a great week, and I'll see you guys hopefully in the next one. All right, take care. Bye-bye.